Well, there's nothing like a scary story to keep you up at night, and this one is a chiller. The Company is a gothic thriller from acclaimed author John Michael Vasari. Now, he joins us now via Zoom to share more about the book. John, this is right up my alley. I'm so excited. This is a wicked Victorian tale. It starts with wallpaper. I had no idea this was a thing, so you need to get me into this.
So, yeah, as a lot of people may not know, wallpaper can be quite scary. It was a scary thing in the Victorian era because the Victorians in the late 19th century were dumping arsenic into it as a color enhancer.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and it proved to be actually fatal for many families, and took people a while to figure out that this was what was going on.
Yeah.
Modern analogy is like lead paint, right? People know about lead paint. Like this is the equivalent to that in the 19th century. So the story uses that as its jumping off point, and it's about this family business. It's not tacos and family, it's wallpaper and family.
Wow.
And it's this wallpaper magnate family that's been running the most successful wallpaper company for the last 100 years in London. And they start getting into trouble as this discovery of arsenic starts to come out, and the ghosts of all the people the family has harmed sort of start to seep out of the wallpaper and
Oh my gosh.
haunt the family.
That is incredibly creepy. That definitely sounds like my night after a lot of the tequila that I just drank. So my goodness, this is going to be a really good one for a lot of the people getting into it. So, okay, what would you say is better, John, about historical fiction? Is it the research, the imaginary places in the past that you get to create? What do you think is kind of the best part when you're creating these?
The history is definitely the best part. I actually just got back from the Twin Cities Book Festival in
Oh, wow.
Minneapolis. This past weekend, and it was a wonderful festival. People there are wonderful, but people come to these events and they are so fascinated and interested in the history behind whatever the stories are. I was there on a panel with another historical novelist, and I think people just sort of long to know about the past. This is something that is kind of woven into our DNA as a species, really, to sort of know where we come from.
Yeah.
So that historical aspect of the novel writing process is really wonderful for me because I'm a researcher, but I also have found that it's really wonderful for the audiences because they're always fascinated with that aspect of it whenever I do an event.
Yeah, I mean, that is exactly where my fascination goes as well. I want to ask you too about your heroine, Lucy, because this is something that we're really excited. We're excited to get into it with you about her. Is she like a real person in your life? Somebody that you based this off of? I mean, who is she to you?
I mean, if she's anybody, maybe she's me, like sort of half crazy, half sane sort of thing. She is she's an indomitable figure. She's a woman in Victorian England who is disenfranchised. She's the most intelligent and the most uh, innovative person in the book, and yet because she's the one who should be running the whole company, but because of her position in 1870s London, she can never assume that role. So she's always doing things to, you know, help the family run through in whatever capacity the company will let her.
Okay.
If anything, though, people in my life, I mean, I grew up in a family of kind of caretakers. And so that sort of obsession she has with running the household, taking care of her brother, making sure everything goes okay.
Wow.
Uh, I kind of grew up in that kind of environment. So that was an easy thing to channel.
That is awesome. Well, again, Lucy's character is so complex. Would you say that you learned anything about yourself as you wrote The Company, especially with Lucy maybe being a little bit of a parallel to yourself?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really great question. I think every author wants to wants to think and realize that the book is their own, that as the author they have control over the whole book. And to an extent that has to be true if you're going to finish the book. But I think one of the things I learned writing this and my previous novel, and you kind of have to relearn it every time, is that you ultimately aren't in control of the story because the characters, especially one like Lucy, come in and kind of take over, and you have to listen to them. You have to listen to them as you're writing, and things work themselves out. Toni Morrison was very famous for kind of not knowing where she was going.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more of an outliner. I think, and I have to kind of know the end. And I think the answer is somewhere in between, you know. You just have to listen to those voices. They're very ghostly voices. Appropriate question. They're very ghostly voices that you kind of have to listen to. And I learn that about myself every time I write something, that as much in control of the writing as I would like to be, I have to give over to it a little, especially when it's a ghost story that you know you don't know where the ghosts are going to come from next.
Yes. Well, hey, again, this is so impressive to complete a book like this, let alone have these complex characters and such an incredible story. So, John, thank you so much for taking the time. The perfect book to read next to the fireplace on Halloween night while you're answering the doorbell. So I love this so much. Thank you again
Thank
so
you so
much,
much.
John. Of course. It's
Thanks so
great
much.
to see
Great to
you.
you.
Well, The Company by J.M. Varese is available now wherever books are sold. Make sure to get yourself a copy.